Hello and welcome to a Lenten Pause. This is a moment to just reflect a little bit using the Psalms as we, in our Lenten journey, seek to follow in the way of Jesus, the way of love, the way of the cross. I'm Pastor Jane Rowe. I serve as pastor at South Church in New Britain, Connecticut, and I'm glad to have you joining me today. Today is Ash Wednesday, and on this day, Christians receive the sign of the cross in ashes, reflecting on our mortality, repenting of our sin, recognizing our need for God, and humbling ourselves. It is common for us to read Psalm 51 on this day, and so I'll be choosing a few verses out of Psalm 51 to share. Sometimes we feel our sin very sharply and deeply. Perhaps we have done something or said something that we deeply regret, something we can't take back, and we feel deeply our need for forgiveness. And I think in those times, the opening verses of Psalm 51 may speak to us especially powerfully. The psalmist writes, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against you, you alone, have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight, so that you are justified in your sentence and blameless when you pass judgment." Sometimes our regret cuts us to the core, and it is only words like these that will express our remorse, our cry for God's help and forgiveness. And there are other times, a lot of the time, I think, when our sin is not as sharply in focus in our minds. We're going along and living our lives. And yet we can feel our discomfort with certainly the world as it is and with our participation in it, the ways we go along with things that we know are not God's way, and our longing for the world to be more in tune with the way of God. In those times, as well as those that are more sharply, painfully focused on our sin, I think the prayer that the psalmist raises in verse 10 can speak to all of us. "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain in me a willing spirit." We need a willing spirit to be partners with God in following the path of love, the path of truth, the path of grace. But it is God who creates the clean heart in us. God who created at the very beginning of creation. God who makes all things new at the end of creation. God is the creator. God is the one who can create a clean heart in us. And so as we begin this Lenten journey, whether we are painfully aware of our complicity in sin, or whether we are vaguely longing for something new in us and in this world, let our prayer be, God, create in me, create in us a clean heart, and put a new and right spirit within me, within all of us, as we seek to follow Jesus on our Lenten journey. Thanks be to God.